Coming to you live from Finnie Stadium on the campus of Baldwin Wallace University in Berea, Ohio. Welcome inside our coverage of Baldwin Wallace soccer tonight. It's an Ohio Athletic Conference affair between the Yellow Jackets of BW and the Purple Raiders of the University of Mount Union. Glad to have you on board tonight. Brendan Gulick and Eric Kwiatkowski along hand. It's a matchup between two teams that are really trying to get some things going. Right now, Baldwin Wallace sits in the kind of the cellar of the OAC. They've only won a couple of games this year. Mount Union's had slightly more success in the win column, but they've only scored 7 goals in 9 games. They need to find an offensive footing.
You're absolutely right. I mean, this young offense is going up against this tough defense, and one of these things is going to have to break. I mean, it's going to be give and take from both sides, and we'll have to see how it goes.
Baldwin Wallace will be in the white tops with gold stripes. They're going left to right, while Mount Union goes with the black tops, purple numbers and letters from right to left. On the season, this Mount Union club, well, they've had a couple of tight games that have given them some things to feel good about. I think that's probably the best way you can say it. They're coming off a 1-0 loss to the number 7 ranked team in the country, the Ohio Northern Polar Bears, who have not yet lost a match this season. So Mount Union comes in with what they probably feel like is a little bit of momentum. The only goal in that game came in the 81st minute. On the other side, well, it's a BW team that is 3-8 on the season as we get underway tonight. They lost the opening game of their conference slate to Marietta, 3-2 in overtime down in Marietta. The starters for tonight's game, Baldwin Wallace will go with 3 forwards, Logan Davis, Danny Ruppel, and Jeremy Faust. Danny Ruppel, a freshman from Berea Mid-Park here in this area. He's had a tremendous season for a youngster. Already 5 goals and 4 assists on the campaign, Eric.
Yeah, you know, he's been able to show that he's been able to carry the offense to this point. Him and Logan Davis have certainly showed their leadership and ability to score at this college level. So that
was Danny Chung that played the ball into the corner for Mount Union, rolled away harmlessly for a goal kick. So those 3 forwards, Logan Davis, Danny Ruppel, and Jeremy Faust. 4 midfielders for Baldwin Wallace. It's sophomore Kurt Rainey from Mentor, Ohio. Patrick O'Malley, a senior from Sheridan, Indiana. Carter Sutton, the sophomore from West Virginia. And then a junior midfielder from the Columbus area in Dublin, Jack Shirley. There's also 3 defenders, Adam Grove, J.T. Taubenek, and David Elson. The goalkeeper, Patrick Mihal. That's the starting lineup for Baldwin Wallace as they play toward Ruppel in the middle, and it's footed away harmlessly. Just underway in collegiate soccer, they count down from the 45-minute mark as opposed to counting up from 0 to 90. So we'll do our best to keep you informed along the way, but no score here in the early going. On the Mount Union side, their goalkeeper is senior Dylan Lias from Cuyahoga Falls. He's had a decent season, but I know that they're really trying to get some things going because it's a Mount Union team that is, again, they've won a couple of games. They feel okay about where they're at, but the offense just hasn't clicked.
And, you know, that's okay. You know, some teams like to play through their defense, and that's fine. Work it up through the midfield, and, you know, when chances come, they have to capitalize on them, but they've been unable to do that so far. So I'd like to see them try and get it more on the offensive end tonight.
Scott Welker exchanges passes there with Josh Lewis as they play the left side of the box. It was kind of mishit as it went toward the net. I think we've got our first corner kick of the day coming. Meanwhile, for Mount Union, Scott Welker, junior forward from Solon. He is the only true forward on the roster. There are 7 different players for Mount Union listed as midfielders, but they're certainly going to not go out there with 7 mids. They'll have some guys play forward, a couple play further deep.
Yeah, I'm sure each individual player knows what position they're truly playing, but, you know, they each have their own type of thing, and I'm sure they know how to play that. So
Welker with the left foot. Jeremy Faust deflected it out of bounds, so a second corner for Mount Union. There's only one player for Mount Union who has scored more than 1 goal this season, and that is Scott Welker. He's running away from the corner kick, which is toward the back post. Nice high attempt, grabbing the ball. Patrick Mihal pulls it down. No shot, just a cross into the middle. No score, a couple minutes into the second conference game of the season. Baldwin Wallace 3-8 on the year. They are 1-1 at home, so they haven't played very many home games yet. The one win was actually their second home game, and that was against Bluffton back on the 17th of September. They got underway at home against Hiram back on September 2nd. That was a 3-0 defeat.
You know, you're talking about a team that started really 0-6 on the season, and, you know, coming into conference play, they've won their past, or 3 out of their last 4. So, hopefully they're able to build on that and hopefully get a win here tonight.
Baldwin Wallace throw into the far side of the field, headed by Jack Shirley, but it's rolled out of bounds over on the far side. Baldwin Wallace sitting off to the left on the far side from your vantage point. They've kind of got the gray T-shirts on over the top of their uniforms. Mount Union with the black and white track jackets on off to the right. Not a very big crowd on hand, but it is a beautiful night. 74 degrees, fair skies overhead. Feels a whole lot more like summer than fall, at least at this point. Couple minutes into the game, almost 5 full minutes, in fact. Here's Danny Ruppel, who's got a little bit of an opening, slips it through. Kurt Rainey toward the corner. Rainey stops it just before it gets away. Knocked in toward the middle, looking for Ruppel. Mount Union is there instead.
You can already see how Mount Union's trying to pack it in towards that goalie. They have 7 guys back in that box.
Popped free just at the last second, but Dylan Lias is over to scoop it up. That's one thing you can count on, even if the season isn't really going the way you want it to, Eric. When you have a senior in net, it just gives everybody a little bit more confidence for no other reason than he's been around and he's going to the game will slow down for him.
You're absolutely right.
Controlled in the middle of the field by the Purple Raiders. They play it to the far side. The Ohio Athletic Conference historically has been dominated by the Ohio Northern Polar Bears, and I don't think you'll find much argument when it comes to that as Taubenik tries to head it down. He's got the long, goofy hair. Kind of looks like Anderson Varejao. Anyways, Ohio Northern's always been king in this conference, at least over the last 15 years. And John Carroll's had pretty good teams here and there, but you've seen Mount Union start to move forward. You've seen Capital put together good teams. The Crusaders are actually right now off to a tremendous start at 9-1. They are actually ranked 23rd in the country at this point. So those are the 2 top dogs this year, Ohio Northern and Capital. Mount Union made the conference tournament last year for the first time since 2013 as Ruppel tried to left foot one into the box, pulled away, and Shirley couldn't keep it in control. Head coach for Mount Union, Carter Poe, is really only in his second season, and it's an interesting dynamic because of his youth as this one slides through, and it's scooped up by Lias. He was playing college ball just a couple years ago, played semi-pro ball, and won a championship with AFC Cleveland. You're talking about a guy who's not much older than the guys he's coaching, but it creates a really nice camaraderie for him.
Yeah, that's definitely not a bad thing when you got a guy who's been around the block, especially around here, around this area. You get to know the players that you're bringing in, the players that you get to coach. So I think that's definitely a good thing for this up-and-coming team. Josh
Lewis threw it in, but it was headed away by Carter Sutton. Mount Union maintains possession. This is Jesse Tinney. Tinney plays it back defensively. Pretty typical expectations on the strategy side for Mount Union. I know I mentioned that there were 7 true midfielders starting, but you're basically seeing 4 defenders, 4 midfielders, 2 forwards, and a goalkeeper. It's a pretty standard way of attacking offensively. Long throw in from Mount Union coming from the far side of the field. And Baldwin Wallace has the possession for a moment. No score. 38 minutes left in the first half. We're 7 full minutes into the game tonight. Eric didn't really have a chance to talk much about keys to the game. I know it's kind of the start of conference play, so it puts a little bit more on the line, if you will.
Absolutely.
You have less wiggle room. What are you hoping to see from both teams tonight?
Well, I'm hoping to see a little more offensive attack from Mount Union. I know we talked about their limited goal scoring, but they really have to get it going, especially in conference play, if they want to make any momentum. From Baldwin Wallace, I'd really like to see them keep riding on their young players. You know, we talked about there's only 4 true upperclassmen in this starting lineup, and you know, as long as they keep playing well, I think you can build on that towards the future, and maybe not this year, but definitely for years to come. So I'd like to see that keep going.
Throw in coming here for Josh Lewis once again. Taubenik over to make a play on it. It remains Mount Union ball. Haven't seen any real serious threats so far. A couple of corner kicks for the Purple Raiders, but no shots on goal at this point in the game. Lewis finds an opening for a minute, gets it right back. Well, good movement so far in the middle of the field. Frees things up for Dagus. Dagus tries to keep it and maintains. Tinney plays back to the far side. Low burner played in and dangerously just missed off wide to the left. Ball from near midfield was well played, and somehow unmarked, Tinney came through, and man, he nearly slipped one in there. Nick Newhart was theirs too.
You have to give credit to that play. You know, you don't usually expect a ball coming from 45 yards out into that box, but he played it well.
So the goal kick sent away by Patrick Mihal. That will not go as a shot on goal, by the way. It went through cleanly, but certainly the most exciting chance of the game thus far. Oh, scored almost 10 full minutes into the first half. Mount Union's 7 goals have come from 6 different players. I mentioned Scott Welker has 2. He's the only one with more than 1, but we've seen a couple of the other starters put one in, like the junior Jesse Tinney, whose name we've said a couple of times.
You talk about the complete opposite for the Baldwin Wallace side. I mean, it's the top 3. Rupel has 5, Davis has 4, and Kurt Rainey has 2. So those top 3 have really taken care of most of the offense for the Baldwin Wallace side.
18 goals in their first 11 games of the season, so scoring just over a goal and a half per game. Mount Union has certainly had most of the time of possession here in the early going. Played forward. Lewis to the far side. Well, some pressure coming, but Carter Sutton couldn't poke it free. Nice little move on the outer half. And then Sutton sticks his foot in there last second and knocks it away. So Mount Union will have a throw-in on the far side of the field. Played in toward the 6-yard box. Scott Welker couldn't get enough cleanly on it. Then it was shot and blocked. Knocked straight down. The Yellow Jackets trying to clear it away and finally throw it out there to the left. But repetitive effort from Mount Union. They are really starting to find a threat.
Good.
Rupel there defending. Lewis looking. Taubenik fighting for position. And he's able to clear it momentarily. Lewis plays it back down. Nice clear to the center of the box, but a beautiful read by Mihal. He comes out with 2 hands, and the Yellow Jackets will clear things out. I'll tell you what, I've been pretty impressed so far with the way Josh Lewis, young man from Elyria, not too far away. He's done a pretty good job so far on the near side of the field. That one looked like it kind of caught Carter Sutton awkwardly. So the Jackets play it back, and Taubenik possesses midfield. Maybe a chance. Played straight down. Logan Davis taken down inside the box. No whistle. And it's pulled up cleanly. Our officials tonight, Tim Dickin, Rob Spies, and Vicente Suarez. 12 minutes in. No score at Baldwin Wallace. Right-footed forward toward the corner. Maybe something here for Nick Newhart, and it's rolled away harmlessly. Well, the Jackets certainly have done a good job when Mount Union's come on the attack of working them toward the corners. They're not really giving up driving lanes toward the, I guess you'd call them the alleys in the box.
You're exactly right. They're swarming the middle of the field, and that's what you have to do, especially with, you know, such limited offense coming from the Mount Union side. You want to keep them out of the middle.
The Jackets are swarming, huh?
Yep.
Couldn't help myself. 32 minutes, 30 seconds left in the opening half. We have a free kick coming for the first time in the ball game after a Baldwin Wallace foul. We'll see which of the defenders chooses to take it.
You know, it's interesting. You talked about the Mount Union Raiders having 7 midfielders, as we see a shot there. They have 7 midfielders, but I saw every single one of the Baldwin Wallace Jackets within the 20-yard line on that play. So, you know, we talked about not really having a specific position. Well, I think you saw that there with the Baldwin Wallace defensive side.
John Schroeder misfired wide to the right on the shot. Schroeder's played all 9 games this year. With that miss, he's actually 0 for 8 in trying to connect with the net, but not afraid to let it fly a little bit. Here's Newhart near side. Tries to play it forward. Well defended. Nearing 15 full minutes of action so far, and the Yellow Jackets have yet to really put some pressure on Mount Union. Mount Union's controlled the possession here in the early going. That one went out of bounds, and it will be a Jacket throw-in. Picked up by Jeremy Faust, the sophomore from Strongsville, just up the road. A mistake played forward. An opening for Rainey. He lets it fly a little low and left. Handed away, and so a corner kick coming.
Really the first attacking play we've seen from BW all night.
A little surprised Rainey didn't try to maybe take another dribble or two, but
maybe a bit anxious,
had an opening. He wanted to try and take it. So instead, the first BW corner kick of the game, and it comes 15 minutes in. Played in by Logan Davis. Deflected just past the back post. Rolls away to the corner, but apparently knocked in there by a Purple Raider. This time it will be Danny Ruppel to play it toward the middle. BW looking to strike first. And some whistles. Maybe a little too much aggression as everybody sort of jockeys for positioning near that front post. Baldwin Wallace's Jack Shirley getting physical in there. Don't blame him for trying to make a good effort.
Not at all.
Ruppel into it with a left foot. High and arcing and punched into the air. Into the top of the box. Bounces a couple of times, and that looks to be the end of the threat.
That was a great play by Elias to get out there and punch that ball away.
Back to the middle. There might be an opening, and it's just a little low and to the right. Great effort by Logan Davis, but he had a tough time keeping his balance.
Yeah, it looks like he had to rush it a little bit, too.
Logan Davis, the sophomore from Highland High School in Hinckley. Former Highland Hornet. More than 15 minutes in, no score. All of a sudden, Baldwin Wallace had a couple of pretty good looks, so maybe that'll get the Jackets back on their toes a bit. You know, the other thing we mentioned that Baldwin Wallace, obviously they got off to a tough start, but they played a lot of regional opponents, so that should give them some confidence going into conference play.
Yeah, you know, especially as a young team, when you see more, you learn more. And I think that's definitely the case there as we see a foul on the offensive end from Mount Union.
I think Scott Welker kind of stuck his foot in there as he was trying to go for the ball, so not a goal kick, but instead a foul. But no, I mean, several of the opponents for Baldwin Wallace in the early part of this season, Hiram, Penn State Barron, Case Western Reserve, obviously just on the other side of Cleveland, but Buffalo State and Fredonia, both teams in New York. They're in the same region, though. And then, of course, Allegheny from Pennsylvania. Well defended and sent to the near side. The Jackets keep it in. Great effort by Danny Ruppel, the team's leading scorer. Freshman plays it forward. Spinning style from Patrick O'Malley. Back to Ruppel, who left foots it a little bit too far forward. Baldwin Wallace had a chance to play a pretty good Oberlin team here at home as well. Oberlin historically has been a really strong team. This year not quite as good, but that was a frustrating loss for the Jackets, 4-3. That was a game scheduled back on September 21st, just a few weeks ago. Mount Union looked like they had something going, but never really came together. 27:30 left on the first half clock, no score. Eric Kwiatkowski alongside Brendan Gulick tonight. Got a corner kick coming. Even though he's a defender on the near side of the field, Josh Lewis will go all the way into that corner to take the kick. Clearly Carter Poe has some confidence in him. It's a short corner. Newhart deflects it away, well defended.
Interesting play. I love to see those set pieces off corners because not all the time do you see the perfect play coming out of that corner area. You got to kind of set it up and find what you like.
This time the more traditional version, and it's too short. A good heading effort near the front side post. But it looked like Stephen Diggs got a little bit too far out in front. Good effort, though, from the defender. out of St. Vincent St. Mary down in Akron. That's the other thing. You look at up and down both of these rosters, there's youth, and there's a lot of kids that are from relatively local schools. Makes it kind of fun because for a lot of the family and friends of those players, it's a little easier to come out and see them. Well, obviously, the Mount Union football side's a little different, but they have such a strong Florida connection. It's interesting that doesn't necessarily translate to several of their other sports.
Well, the great thing is that you get to see your friends play. I'm sure some of these guys have played with each other before on both sides, and you get to know guys, you make connections with them, and it's always great to see come out, have a little friendly competition with your old buddies.
There's no doubt that these guys have played together and against each other as they've grown up. Meanwhile, Welker with some footwork near side, he's able to beat a defender momentarily, but can't further attack, so he gives away. Unloaded from 30 yards away, a little off wide to the right. Not a shot on goal. Keeper didn't touch it, but still a good effort. Middle of the field, one kind of unleashed low and wide right by Jesse Tinney, the junior. 25 minutes, 15 seconds and counting in the first half. At this point, there wouldn't really be a reason for any stoppage time to be added. A little pinballing on the far side. Jackets try to center things. Ruppel wants it near side. Instead, a shot blocked. Adam Grove tried to send it in there. Pulled away, and now maybe the Raiders have numbers. Good job coming in from behind. Kurt Rainey broke that little attack up. Baldwin Wallace near side, attacking with Jeremy Faust. Controlling, dribbling high into the box. Centers it. A chance here. It's poked free. And nothing comes of it. Boy, that's tough to swallow because Faust really made a nice effort coming from all the way the backside defense all the way up into the box. Instead, Mount Union on the counterattack with Newhart near side. It will stay Mount Union ball. Throw in coming from Dagus.
Nice poke away by Elson there.
Lewis. Into the corner now. Daniel Chung. Past Lewis. And into some free space where Rainey takes it. Knocked free to the ground, but the ball rolls out of bounds. Baldwin Wallace will throw it in. Actually, I beg your pardon, that was Logan Davis, not Kurt Rainey. Davis plays toward the middle of the field. Pulled in for just a moment, and then poked free. Almost looked like Mount Union may have incidentally touched the ball there with a hand, but
if it's incidental, it doesn't.
It's an incidental. It is what it is. Ruppel tries to play it forward. Davis near side centers. It's knocked down but not fielded. And then scampering to it, Dylan Lias comes over and picks it up in traffic.
That's definitely not one you want to lose there. He looked like he had a hand on it, but just rolled free. He was lucky to get a hand on it again.
We're essentially halfway through the first half. 22 minutes, 46 seconds left before halftime. Baldwin Wallace 3-8 on the season. Their only scheduled regular season meeting with the Mount Union Purple Raiders. Mount Union in black, Baldwin Wallace in white and yellow here at home. Davis tried to give it right back, but too much touch for Carter Sutton. Raiders on the outside, working it back toward the middle. Baldwin Wallace still has 5 defenders back and a 6th one coming. And they take care of that one okay as Ruppel had it for a moment. And he goes back into it. Good spinning play by Newhart. And Ruppel says, I don't care. I'll take it anyways. Down the near side, Faust. Lots of possession in the middle of the field. Certainly doesn't favor one side or the other for a few minutes here. 21-41 left in the first half. No score yet. A couple of scoring chances. Early, it was Mount Union that probably the first 12 minutes of the game had consistent possession. Baldwin Wallace had a couple of quick strikes. Both teams have had corner kicks and some set plays, but nothing's come of it. Maybe something stirring here. Lob toward the corner, but no Yellow Jackets in the area. Instead, Newhart near side. Finds Lewis streaking up the sideline. Poorly played back toward the middle and easily possessed by David Elson. Forward now to Shirley, who went too far forward, and it'll be scooped up by Lias.
He had a lot of space there. I'm surprised he didn't try to play it a little bit forward or try to work a little slower of an offensive possession.
There are 3 Yellow Jacket subs waiting to come in. Rafael Davalos, Joey Geither, and Timmy Jonas all waiting to check in. About 20 minutes left in the first half. Into the corner, knocked out of bounds. And we have a corner kick coming. And that means we have 3 substitutions about to enter the game. So again, number 5, freshman midfielder from Kettering Alter High School, Rafael Davalos. Joey Geither's a freshman defender from Parma Normandy High School. And then Timmy Jonas, a freshman midfielder. He was an Eagle at St. Edwards from Fairview Park. See if some fresh legs help 14th year head coach Reed Ayers' team here at home. Under 20 minutes left now in the first half. Played into the back part of the box and headed down cleanly. Low liner right at the keeper. Didn't have a whole lot on it, but not a bad effort anyways from Patrick O'Malley. Still scoreless so far at Finnie Stadium in Berea. Jackets consistently pressuring the ball now after a slow start to the game. Lias surveying things. Ruppel finally presses him, forces the issue. Raiders having trouble figuring out where they want to go with it. They'll send too cleanly up the field. It'll easily be picked up by Patrick Mihal. BW's used 3 different keepers on the season. Patrick Mihal obviously one of them, but tonight is his 5th start. Teammate Ryan Asbury has started 6 different times. Asbury's kind of had a tough go at it. He's given up more than 3 goals per game. Mihal's only allowed 3 goals in 4 games, so Reed Ayers may be making a little bit of a change here, hoping to pick the hot hand tonight. Goal kick coming now with 18:25 and ticking. Well played to the middle of the field, over the top of everybody's head, and down to Danny Ruppel. Ruppel was double teamed. The possession won by Mount Union. Good effort in the middle of the field. O'Malley maybe a little over aggressive. No, actually, O'Malley drew the foul. Referee Tim Dickens says, now hold on a second. He didn't quite put it back where it started.
Right at that 50-yard mark.
Kind of crafty from the Jackets, trying to slip one through.
Yep.
Jeremy Faust lobs it high into the box. Headed around a few times and poked free. Davalos to the far side. Back to J.T. Tobanek, the sophomore from Parma. Headed forward and then backwards. I'll tell you what, I really like the aggressiveness with which Baldwin Wallace has started playing. It was almost like they were a little tight early on, and now things are starting to loosen up a little for them.
Yeah, they've definitely taken the attack to them and putting pressure on their defense every time they can.
Faust to the middle of the field. A quick spin from Grove, but defender was right there. Adam Grove is just kind of hanging out right around the top of the box, hoping he can find an open look. And his teammates keep trying to feed him the ball. Here comes another one. Chung got his forehead in the way. 16-30 and counting in the first half. No score yet. Excellent work in front of the Mount Union bench. And then last minute poked away. Well, if nothing else, I think you're seeing a pretty even battle. Obviously, the scoreboard tells that story, but you're seeing two young teams that, as the game has gone along, it's been a little heave and ho both sides. Mount Union's made some good plays. Baldwin Wallace tried to piece some things together. Yeah. Pretty well-balanced game.
Yeah, you're definitely going to come across that, especially with young teams or inexperienced teams. But, you have to fight through those growing pains, and that'll come. That's execution and all that stuff will come with time.
There is one Purple Raiders substitution waiting to check in. And we do have a Yellow Jacket throw-in coming. Looks like the new Purple Raider would be Kevin Blackley, the senior forward, who has been one of their better players as a shot was knocked down nicely. Played to the far corner and footed away.
So Ruppel had a great chance with that one on a nice volley. Just unfortunately straight at the keeper.
Faust to Davalos. Toward the corner now to Jonas. Sends it in, and it's popped up. Now the three substitutions, Davalos, Geither, and Jonas, seem to find themselves in the heat of the moment ever since they've checked into the ballgame, so they're certainly making an immediate impact. Sometimes you wonder truly how much the freshness of a substitution can affect the game. And at least so far, I think the aggressiveness you're seeing from those three guys, it's helping. So a free kick coming for the Purple Raiders, who are in black tonight. Beautiful night now under dark skies in Berea. This one moving along. We are pretty late now in the first half. Played for more than half an hour without a goal yet. That one sent skyward out of bounds. Ohio Athletic Conference, the Yellow Jackets. Well, they've had a decent year. 3 wins, 8 losses, but they got off to a really tough start. Mount Union is 3-8. It's a couple different substitutions come on for the Raiders. The second of those, I believe, is Tyler Cooper from Chagrin Falls. Actually, I beg your pardon, it's Zach Lutz, the freshman midfielder near side. Toward the corner. Lutz got his foot on it. Pop free. Well, right now, both coaches are thinking about how can I turn my chances into capitalizing. And certainly that's been an issue for Mount Union all year with only 7 goals in 9 games. It's almost amazing they've won 3 games. Yeah. Raiders control deep in their own territory. Played back to the keeper. Under 13 minutes left in the first half. Near midfield, played up. Scott Welker taken down. And another Yellow Jacket foul. Hasn't been a terrible first half in that regard, but it is the 3rd foul on BW.
Yeah, nothing real serious.
Mount Union's actually been given credit for 3 shots. Baldwin Wallace has been given credit for 6 shots. Almost feels a little generous, but okay.
Well, sometimes in a
home
0-0
field advantage.
Game, yeah.
Low one played in, and it was probably not Jesse Tinney's best effort. Lewis in the midfield. Davalos played it too far forward for Baldwin Wallace. Joe Winicki off target when he sent it over there. Ruppel feeds it forward, but Jonas can't converge quickly enough, and it rolls away out of bounds. Here comes the 3rd substitution for Mount Union here in the first half. This time it's Chung that comes off the field, and he is replaced by Jake Clark, sophomore out of West Geauga High School out in Chardon. Clark comes on as a midfielder.
One of the many.
His 9th game of the season. No score with just over 11 minutes left in the first half. Tonight's Baldwin Wallace soccer game brought to you by the Oriole Cafe, a great place for sports. Located at 294 North Rocky River Drive. Just a couple of minutes from Baldwin Wallace's campus. Thanks to the Oriole Cafe for their support of Baldwin Wallace athletics. Jackets have to be happy with the way they've defended on their home field, but maybe frustrated with some of the chances that have slipped by as they reverse position. And it's sent far too much across the way by Ben Fewer. Nice job by Davalos closing down on it. Too much on the ball played forward. Not a bad idea, though, from David Elson. Near side, Joey Geither. Give it up toward the backside. Elson to the far wing, Davalos trailing. We're at the 10-minute mark of the first half. Davalos looked like he maintained possession, but then the far side official, Vicente Suarez, raised that flag and said he let the ball just trickle over that line a little bit. This is J.T. Tobanek in the mid.
Uh-oh.
Kind of stumbled over the ball. Mount Union had a momentary glimpse of some hope. But Tobanek recovered. Kind of a dangerous play there. Mount Union came in. And I have to be honest with you, with a lot of the ball that I've seen played in the middle of the field, it doesn't look like there's much of a plan. It's developing more as teams get further in, but there's a lot of feeling out.
Yeah, really no possession going on in the midfield. It comes from working the ball down the sidelines more so than in the middle of the field.
Davalos tried to slip one into Rainey, but didn't work. Loose on the far side as senior defender Adam Grove runs it down. Played forward. Centering pass. Geither gives it up. It's an opening and a goal! First goal of the game comes nearly 8 minutes before the intermission. Left foot from Danny Ruppel. 1-0 Jackets.
Fantastic move to get into his space. You know, we talk about not rushing the shot and getting your shot off. He definitely did that and put away a beauty.
That was one of those quick goals that just sort of, presented itself in that very last second, and Ruppel happened to be there. One dribble to free up some space off to his left, and then he found the bottom right corner of the net. So freshman Danny Ruppel puts his 6th goal of the season in, and it's the BW Yellow Jackets on the board, 1-0. That goal came with just about 8.5 minutes left in the first half. Mount Union trying to counter. Free in the box, and poked away. One goal can make a lot of difference in a game between two teams that have been struggling early in the season. Geither, good footwork, clear for a moment, try to slip it through. It's pop free. I'll tell you what, though, after that first 10 minutes, Mount Union has done nothing offensively to pressure the Baldwin Wallace defense. 37th minute goal from Danny Ruppel, the difference. 1-0 BW, 7.5 minutes left in the first half. Out of bounds, it goes back to BW. Our official waits for just a moment. And they wave on the throw. Nope. Couple substitutions that'll come in first for Baldwin Wallace.
You know, you talked about substitutions bringing energy to the team as a whole. There's nothing like scoring a goal to bring that energy too, you know?
Ryan Spazit comes in. Danny Ruppel checks out. The other replacement is sophomore forward Ryan Hassel for sophomore midfielder Kurt Rainey. A little spinning attempt from O'Malley, but the ball kind of ate him up. Final 6.5 minutes of the first half. To the far side. Well, maybe not. Lewis gives it right back to the team leader, Scott Welker. Got a little bit of a hip check, keeps the ball in play for just a moment, and then it's knocked free by Tobanek. Really like the work that JT Tobanek has done today in the middle of the field defensively.
You can definitely tell he's a leader in that center position.
Played into the midfield. Unloads with the right foot, but very well read and honestly kind of an easy hop for Patrick Mihal. It went right to him. Still not a bad attempt, though, for Mount Union. 5 minutes and change before our halftime. Not exactly sure what got tied up there, but Mount Union will have a free kick. Purple Raiders trying to somehow come up with an equalizer before the halftime. Lewis finds a teammate in Tinney. He plays it forward. A chance. Left foot centering pass and a goal. Scott Welker right there to finish it off. And it's the Yellow Jackets who surrender just moments later. Actually, I beg your pardon. That was Jake Clark, the sophomore who just recently checked in. Mount Union pulls even, and it is a 1-1 tie. 5 minutes left before halftime. Just a breakdown there defensively for BW.
Yeah, you know, he was in the right place at the right time, and sometimes soccer goes that way, a bounce of the ball here and there, and, you know, he was able to put it away. Great finish.
It's pretty well done offensively there. A lot of times you'll see that in hockey as well, where try to feed up one side of the ice and then throw it back to the backside. For whatever reason, Patrick Mihal just couldn't stand his ground well enough. And in the very tail end of the 40th minute, Jake Clark ties the game at 1. So a couple of first half goals. Davalos reverses field. Faust with a sense of urgency to the far side. Jonas gives it up. And Mount Union possesses. Just a little tapper forward, nothing going on. And then one sent way over everybody's head. Patrick Mihal says, I'll take care of this myself. Which of these two teams can go into the locker room with a little momentum? At the moment, it's the visiting Purple Raiders. In the midfield. Nice sidestep in from Faust. He's been aggressive this first half. Looking for Hassel in the middle of the field. He centers to a different teammate who strikes it too high. I believe that was Timmy Jonas, who really unloaded from about 20, 25 yards outside the net. It was deflected away. Boy, Faust is playing really aggressive.
Yeah, absolutely. You love to see that coming from the backside, too. Being able to get that ball up the field into the attacking third of the field. It's great to see, especially with how fast he is.
Throw in coming. Headed down, but right in front of Dylan Elias. He's able to get it. Final 3 minutes of the first half of a 1-1 affair. Danny Ruppel scored his 6th goal of the season for Baldwin Wallace. Jake Clark with an assist from Kevin Blackley tied the game in the 40th minute. Geither lobs it toward the back post, looking for a cutting teammate, but I believe that was Carter Sutton that overran it.
Chances are really coming in bunches now, it looks like.
All of a sudden, both teams are just firing at will. High punt down the field. Was not headed initially. Knocked long and cleanly away. Jake Clark the last to touch it, so a Jacket throw in coming. Baldwin Wallace out shooting Mount Union at this point of the game, 10-5. The Jackets also with 6 of those 10 shots on goal, only 2 for 5 for Mount Union in that regard. We've had no bookings in the game and fairly clean so far as Welker breaks free. Checked in the box. The Purple Raiders are up in arms. They thought for sure a penalty kick was warranted.
Tim Dickin definitely not giving him the benefit of the doubt on that one.
Purple Raider throw in far side. Played in toward the corner. Deflected on a hard strike. By the way, that is Johnny Akindape, who had checked in from CVCA, grew up in Twinsburg. Just over a minute left. Final heave for Mount Union. Taubenik stuck his nose in there and he popped it free. Played straight back down and then a good, clean takeaway.
Great tackle.
Played up the field by Spozit after pulling it free in the box. And the Purple Raiders commit a foul.
Looks like the Purple Raider bench still up in arms about that last call in the box. Definitely not a fan of that call in in front of their bench.
Timmy Jonas knocked down. We'll see if he's the one to send it up. 30 seconds to go before the break. High into the box. It bounces once free. Played back to a dangerous spot. And it's cleared away. Boy, the Jackets had a real opportunity there. Just couldn't find the ball. Davalos helps, plays it out. Kevin Blackley there jostling with him. Well, that's the end of the first half. That's the way it will finish off. And we've had 2 goals, both coming late in the first half, and one coming per side. The Yellow Jackets struck first, 37th minute goal from Danny Ruppel, but just 3 minutes later, Mount Union's Jake Clark tied the game at 1 apiece. Clark put in the goal and tied things up. It was Clark's, let's see, I believe it was his second goal of the season. No, I beg your pardon, first goal. He's got 1 goal and 1 assist now in 2016. So 15-minute intermission. We'll take a timeout, but come back maybe a minute or so before the second half gets underway. Let you know what to look for, and we'll get underway in the second half of this early OAC rivalry between Baldwin Wallace and Mount Union. 1-1 tie, back in about 14 minutes here on BWYellowJackets.com. Second half action at Finnie Stadium just about to get underway tonight as Baldwin Wallace and Mount Union have things equal so far on the pitch. It's a 1-1 affair thanks to a couple of pretty late first half goals.
Yeah, you said it. I mean, both these teams have been pretty evenly matched, and it's a tie ball game right now from a couple goals, but you know, it's going to come down to experience and, you know, which team can convert on those opportunities that are given to them. And, you know, it should be a great second half. I'm looking forward to it.
Both these two teams will switch sides, so Mount Union will go left to right in those black jerseys here in half number 2, and Baldwin Wallace goes right to left. If you joined us a little bit late or you didn't catch the scoring late in the first half, freshman forward Danny Ruppel in the 37th minute freed up near the top of the box. He was kind of left of center and struck one low into the bottom right corner. But not long thereafter, an excellent charge just 3 minutes later. Kevin Blackley went up the field, centered one for Jake Clark, and the Purple Raiders tied things up in the 40th minute. 45 minutes of soccer down, 45 to go, and we're off and running in the second half. Brendan Gulick with you alongside Eric Kwiatkowski tonight. A good streaking effort up the near side from Adam Grove. We called his name a lot in that first half early, but then he kind of faded out just a little bit before making a few more cameos late.
You know, he's really the only senior on this team, and if you know they're going to have to rely on him a lot, and I think they do, especially for that leadership role, and that's going to come into play in a tight game late in the second half.
Well, somebody's going to have to score here in the second half, or else we'll be bound for overtime. Of course, in NCAA soccer, you've got 2 10-minute overtime periods, and it's a golden goal scenario. So as soon as somebody scores, the game is over. If after the first 10-minute overtime period nobody scores, you get it like a quick 2-minute break, then you go to the second one. And if you're still deadlocked in a score-tied game after 2 overtimes, then it's officially a draw. No penalty kicks in the regular season.
Yeah, you know, unfortunately we saw for BW's last game them lose a close one to Marietta in overtime. You know, it might be interesting to see if they're wandering on that game a little bit coming into the second half.
That was a game that only went into the first overtime. A goal in the 97th minute for the Marietta Pioneers down in southern Ohio. Not too long a drive down I-77, just a couple hours south of Baldwin Wallace's campus. Opening minute of the second half. Baldwin Wallace had a goal kick a moment ago, but it wasn't because of a dangerous opportunity near the box. Meanwhile, right back in action, J.T. Taubenek sends one out of bounds far side. So a throw-in coming for the Raiders. Mount Union 2 wins, 3 losses, 4 draws on the season. BW 3-8, and they might have gotten away with a little bit of physical play there. But Tom Dickens says play on a couple of times. Footed forward with the right side. Patrick O'Malley looking up forward in the formation. Nothing doing.
You can definitely see already both teams coming out very physical, trying to get more opportunities, it looks like.
Kurt Rainey tried to have it slung his way, but Danny Ruppel couldn't find him. Meanwhile, a stoppage in play for a moment as Ben Hobrath, the freshman from Brunswick, seemed to be injured for a moment. I don't know if maybe he had drawn blood or something. He was kind of down on one knee and then popped up right away.
He's going to come off.
He must have sliced his arm open somehow, because as he goes over to the far side, the athletic training staff immediately put on the hazard gloves, and they're going to attend to him. So the good news is it doesn't look like it's going to be anything overly bad. Just 2.5 minutes and change here into play in our second half. Head official Tim Dickin is having a brief conversation with a couple of our captains. All right, we visited couple of different times with some of the keys early in the game, but what do you want to see here in the second half?
You know, I want to see more aggressiveness really from both teams, and obviously we're going to see that already with the physical play, but you know, it's going to come down to, like I said, experience and, you know, who can really pull out those opportunities. And, yeah, I hope to see that coming forward.
Baldwin Wallace with a typical Class A move. They had the kick, but just kind of rolled it away and gave possession back to the Raiders. Dylan Elias gave up 1 goal in the first half. He had 6 shots on goal. That one was almost looked like it was kind of played down with a chicken wing. It wasn't quite with an arm all the way outstretched, but looked like he kind of got it with his elbow. Not entirely sure who that was. It may have been David Elson, the junior from St. Xavier. Jackets on the near side, sent forward by Grove. Here's Ruppel in the middle of the field. One dribble and a shot, and it's a little off target. Maybe didn't get quite as much as he wanted to on it, but he tried to let it go from a few yards outside the 18.
He's got a powerful left foot.
That one's headed forward to a dangerous spot. Blackley gives it away far side to Scott Welker. He shoots high and a little wide. Still tied at 1 a few minutes into the second half. BW football team remains on the road this weekend. Kind of the 2 long road trips in conference play. They had a tough game with the Marietta Pioneers on the road in Marietta this past weekend. It was a brutally high-scoring game. You don't see too many games in the OAC where more than 100 points are scored in a game.
Especially without Mount Union
Yeah,
playing.
well, exactly. You know, when Mount Union isn't involved, it's an even lesser chance. But BW fell to 0-3 in conference play after having John Carroll on the ropes on the road. They'd played so well for 3 quarters. The defense kind of fell apart. Mount Union heads one away. And then, of course, the Jackets came home. And you sort of have to play the one really tough game on your schedule when the Purple Raider football team comes to town. That was a 49-7 game that actually Jackets led 7-0. Tough tackle in the middle of the field. Faust all over him. It was an easy call for Tim Dicken. It's a foul with 40 minutes left to go in the ball game. 1-1 tie. So after the 42-0 win over Defiance, looked like maybe things would get off to a good start. But a tough loss on the road at John Carroll, 17-10. That one picked up pretty easily by the goalkeeper, Patrick Mehall.
If I'm not mistaken, they have Wilmington this week, correct?
And then that, with the losses to Carroll, Mount Union, and Marietta, and then now at Wilmington, hopefully that would be a game that the Yellow Jackets can get things going again.
Yeah, definitely have to make a statement.
At Marietta ball game, 62-56. The final score as a whistle blows, and it will be a free kick just outside the box. More talk about Yellow Jacket football in just a second, but first back to action here again. Left side, just a couple of yards outside the box. Adam Grove, the senior defender, will play it in. This is almost like a short corner. I believe it's an indirect free kick, so Grove has to send it off someone else first. Backside, headed in! Danny Ruppel, second goal of the game. The Jackets lead it 2-1 with 38 and change left in the ball game.
You would think they've been playing together for a couple of years on that one. Perfectly executed set piece. Adam Grove, the senior, definitely knew right where to place it at Danny Ruppel's head, and he just had to tap it in with his head.
Danny Ruppel, a 2-goal night. His 37th minute connection put a 1-0 score on the board. Mount Union tied it a couple of minutes later, but they've come back here with his second goal of the night, and it is a 2-1 lead at this point. What a header from Danny Ruppel. Well, Rupel has technically 2 game-winning goals on the season. At the moment, if this score would hold, it would be his 3rd, but we'll find out if that's the case or not. Lots still to be decided. Anyways, back to what we were discussing on the football side of things, in case you're interested in what else is going on at BW this fall. It really was a back-and-forth game. Every time one team scored, foul in the middle of the field, it was an answer from the other side. Marietta scored early in the first quarter, but BW scored a touchdown. Then the Jackets took the lead. Marietta came right back. I mean, it was essentially every time BW scored, Marietta answered back and forth, all the way through that first half. Jordan Leverett had an 86-yard kickoff return for a touchdown, but Marietta scored as this one was sent wide right. Marietta scored with 30 seconds left before halftime, and they tied the game at 35. So things were going to get a little wild there in the second half, and it picked up right away. Marietta was able to tie the game at 56 with 9.5 minutes left in the fourth quarter, and then with 33 seconds left, a 17-yard run from Darian Fields was the difference. 62-56, the final score in that ball game.
Sounds like a Madden game.
On the far side, the Purple Raiders, 36-30 left on the clock. How about the total yards of offense in that game? You ready for this?
Yep.
Net passing yards for BW, 197. Net rushing yards, 249. That means there were 446 yards of offense. It's a good day. Marietta threw 624 yards up against the BW defense. They threw for 364 as Darian Fields connected for 5 touchdowns. Tanner Clark and Roger Walker both had 100-yard days on the ground. The Pioneers, maybe they're a little better team this year than they've been in years past.
Well, coming off of the Mount Union game where their running back definitely asserted himself in the offensive game as well. So
B.J. Mitchell certainly had a good year last year, and he's continued to be a strong part of that Mount Union offense. To be honest with you, he's probably the best running back in D3 football this year. All right, enough about football. Just wanted to let you know what else was going on at BW this fall. Volleyball team's having a tremendous year.
Yeah.
I mean, it really has been unbelievable how well the volleyball team has played. Last I checked, and I'll give you an update here in a moment, but last I saw they were 14-0-1. They are now 14-1.
Yep.
Now they are 19-2.
I think they just lost to John Carroll the other night.
Those Blue Streaks on the other side of town. Tough.
Yep, they're.
All right, corner kick coming. The Jackets have a chance to maybe slip another one on the board. Just about 10 minutes into the second half. Here it comes with the right foot. Sent kind of long and too far. So a goal kick coming. Not a bad send in from Grove, but too much on it. Meanwhile, Danny Rupel has a chance to potentially put together his first career hat trick tonight.
From a freshman, that's a pretty great feat.
Of course, Danny Rupel's father, Kevin Rupel, is the Hall of Famer in the sports information world, the Collegiate Sports Information Directors of America, the former president of COSIDA. No better men than Kevin Rupel. So anyways, Danny Rupel is, I'm sure, making Dad proud, no doubt about that.
You can see him in the stands tonight.
Mount Union works the near side of the field. Raiders trying to keep it in bounds. Good little contest over there. Of course, the sports information department wouldn't be complete, though, without Jeff Miller's incredibly hard work and all the talents he brings to that department.
You know, he's got a talented staff over there, and it really pays off the hard work he puts in. And
well, he certainly does. I'll tell you what, though. I have to bring up Jeff Miller's name because I have a feeling that it isn't public. Jeff Miller's got a birthday tomorrow. I won't divulge the age.
I think he'd appreciate that.
Jeff's one of a kind. Jackets into the box. Didn't really have too much there. Danny Ruppel was standing about 10 yards away from the net. Kind of a hard collision far side. It's sent back forward. Popped back toward midfield. Baldwin Wallace leads it 2-1. Just over half an hour remaining in regulation. Checked around a few times. Pulled in, no problem. Yeah, that BW volleyball team, man, they got off to such an unbelievably good start. Didn't lose until September 10th against Barry. And in so many of their games, they're not even losing games in the match. They're beating opponents 3 straight games over and over again. By the way, I did double check it. It was actually Mount Union, not John Carroll, that beat the volleyball team last night. The game played down in Alliance. Tough tackle. Aaron Lizert was in the area. I think he's going to go toward the top of the box. Purple Raiders looking for an equalizer. That one was not well struck. Far side of the box, and it's free. Joe Winnecke has a pretty strong leg, but couldn't put that one where he wanted directionally. So it's set up the sideline, out of play. Two goals for Danny Ruppel tonight. And the Yellow Jackets lead it 2-1. In the midfield. Played forward. Ruppel turns. Pretty off balance. He tried. Not much came from that. Raiders trying to mount something. Of course, they had the free kick a moment ago, but no real consistent pressure here in the second half yet for a 2-4-3 Mount Union Purple Raider club. Of course, everybody in the conference, though, looking up at Ohio Northern and Capital this season. Polar Bears 11-0-1. They are the 7th-ranked team in the country, according to the national D3 soccer polls. Capital 23rd in the country. They just cracked the top 25. They are 9-1 this season. Tremendously talented team. And then the play in the conference is still strong after that. Marietta and John Carroll both undefeated at 2-0 in conference play, but their national standing not nearly as impressive.
You know, you see these almost dynasties in the OAC, whether it's football, soccer. You always have those top-tier clubs that just always seem to be at the top of their game every year, and it's really impressive.
It's kind of fun to see. Obviously, Mount Union's had a stranglehold on the national football polls for a long time because of their success on the football field. For a long time, and even still in some regard. Marietta's baseball program is excellent. Ohio Northern has been one of the top men's soccer programs in the country for quite a while. Mount Union actually is also really good on the volleyball court. "29 minutes, 15 seconds left in the second half. It's the Yellow Jackets with a 2-1 lead. Hope you're enjoying our coverage of tonight's game. We'll be joined in about 5 minutes by Sports Information Director Jeff Miller. We'll talk about some of the fall sports here at Baldwin Wallace. Obviously, it's been a fun year for the volleyball team. We mentioned that. Looking forward to talking to Jeff about the volleyball program. That's coming up at the 25-minute mark. Rainey unloads, puts it in the top corner. Kurt Rainey from 20 yards out strikes it into the top right 90.
That was fantastic. I'll tell you, I haven't seen many shots curve quite like that one.
3-1 Baldwin Wallace. So Rainey comes up with his third goal of the year. And for the first time in a little while, Baldwin Wallace is playing with a lot of confidence.
How about these young guys for this team? They've really been impressive.
Nice to finally see some of that camaraderie on the field starting to come together. And, you mentioned it earlier in the game. There's obviously a lot of familiarity with guys that play against each other in high school, with each other on the same teams or in the same club teams. These are two teams that haven't played each other at the college level this season, but don't let that fool you. There's still plenty of familiarity here. Poked away for just a moment, and a foul called as Reed Ayers and the Jackets are all up in arms, and we may get a substitution here. Actually, check that. We may get a booking. Oh, I don't know if he's going to issue the card or not.
Looks like a stern talking to.
The yellow card is in his hand, but it has not been waved in the air. Jackets lead the game 3-1. It's the first time all game that we've seen Tim Dicken really get into a player like that, and he chooses to give him as much warning as he possibly can. Raiders played into the box, and it's headed away. If only for a moment, though. And this time a foul called on Mount Union. So things are getting a little chippy here midway through the second half. 2 goals from Danny Ruppel, a goal from Kurt Rainey, and the Jacket faithful are happy tonight at Finnie Stadium. Mihal sends it out. Headed back. Up the far side. Josh Lewis lost control. Seems like play here in the second half is kind of slowing down just a little bit.
Yeah, BW's got the 2-goal lead. They hold all the power. It's up to Mount Union to get down the field and actually make a game of this right now.
Several headers exchanged. The Raiders unload, but a nice diving save by Mihal. Didn't have a ton on it, but directionally it was aimed pretty well in the lower left corner. Mihal rolls it away, and now Adam Grove driving up the field. Well, he finds an open teammate and a takedown. Apparently Aaron Lizart, a little too over-aggressive, reaching in with Kurt Rainey right there. Ball rolled free, so it comes back to the middle of the field, and here we go, another opportunity potentially. We'll see who takes it. Rainey has his back to the press box. Rainey will let it go high and toward the net. Nice leaping effort from Dylan Lias. Left in our ball game tonight. Unless Mount Union throws 2 more goals before Baldwin Wallace could score again. We'll see. It's a 3-1 contest. Rafael Davalos gave it up. Ruppel on the move. Tried to slip it to Rainey. Almost perfectly placed. Instead, near side touched. Zach Lutz for the Purple Raiders. Helped to his feet. Substitution coming in. Stephen Dagus coming on for the Purple Raiders. I believe Baldwin Wallace made a substitution as well.
Yeah.
To let you know who that is.
Looks like it might be Justin Herron.
It was definitely either Rainey or Logan Davis that came out of the game as the ball is rolled free out of bounds. Well, when you've got a 3-1 cushion, you can certainly take a deep breath. Maybe look back into your bench a little bit if you Reed Ayers.
Yeah, soccer's one of those sports where you can almost kind of possession the ball and almost sit on it. But we'll see what BW decides to do here in these last 25 minutes or so.
It was Joey Rainey that came on for Logan Davis. Stephen Dagus came on for Kevin Blackley. Jackets lead at 3-1. Adam Grove bumped around a little bit. Good touch from Daniel Chung. Mount Union possesses, and they try to drive up the far side of the field. A slip toward the out-of-bounds line, and it rolls free.
We're going to introduce Jeff Miller here, Sports Information Director for the Baldwin Wallace University.
Boy, what an introduction.
I got a great staff.
A great staff. Jeff, thanks for coming on the broadcast. It's a 3-1 lead. I know that makes the Jacket faithful happy. Danny Ruppel has 2 goals tonight. The freshman has had an outstanding season, potentially the first hat trick in the making. When was the last time?
It's been years. I don't think I've seen a freshman in years in the league put an impact. He's the 5th leading scorer coming in tonight. He's running away with being the Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, no, there's no doubt that he's done that. But obviously the leadership skills and the qualities of a guy who's, obviously taken to his teammates. You could kind of see the camaraderie he had on that ball played in. It was Eric made the comment. It kind of looked like, sort of been playing with these guys for several years at this point.
He's definitely he's been playing with some of these guys for years. So 2 of them on our team are 3 guys he played club with. But you're right. He came out very, as a normal, typical freshman would, low-key, kind of timid. And then he got his first goal against Bluffton, and he's turned it on ever since.
Ruppel tried to throw another one in there, but the Purple Raiders defense has held strong. Ever since the first 10 minutes of this game, Mount Union really hasn't had consistent pressure, but they've had a few things here and there, and they did come up with a big key answer toward the end of the second half. Since we do have a video component, and our viewers can certainly keep an eye on that, I would like to take a minute to talk about some of the other things that are going on around campus here this fall, and most notably, the really impressive success the volleyball team has had, 19-2.
Yeah, Coach Carter came from Hiram, obviously, and definitely was first year he played. This year he's been 19-2. Suffered a tough loss last night to Mount Union. Came out first 2 matches 26-24, so won the first one, then lost the last 3. But Mount Union and BW always seem to have a tough battle every time they play each other. But he's went off 11 in a row until last night. So, and I heard you saying earlier that they're not just beating people; they're
blowing them out. I mean,
they're
it's
beating
like 3-0 every night.
Yeah, he that was their 4th set match of the year. They have not played one 5-set match
It's
all
incredible.
year. Of those 11, I believe 9 of 10 of those 11 were 3-set matches in that winning streak.
And it sort of goes without saying they obviously have a lot of confidence going into conference play, but I wouldn't call them the new kids on the block when it comes to the OAC. But you are talking about a Mount Union team that on the volleyball court has been very good over the years. John Carroll's had a good team, and when you talk about maybe just the local regional rivalries within the OAC, it's great to see BW really inserting themselves into that mix.
Yeah, it was something that definitely Coach Carter wanted to bring back to this program. It was probably about 8 years since they were very competitive in the top 3, top 4 every year. He wants them to be the OAC champion, a national contender every year, and everybody, he's told me in the last 2 years that this is an All-American in the next 2 years. So he's bringing the kids that he wants in here, and nobody has a job. He tells them that every year, even including our defending OAC Rookie of the Year. She was told, "You're not my outside hitter." So he puts the pressure on them all to be his players.
David Elson committed the foul with a free kick. 20 minutes left in the game. Mount Union down by 2. Lewis plays it in, and it's sent away harmlessly. Corner kick coming for the Purple Raiders. Obviously, it's been a frustrating year on the men's soccer side with only a couple of wins to show for. It was a tough start to the season, but you came into tonight having won, as that's punched away, having won 3 of your last 5. I know one of those 2 losses was a conference game, and those always hurt, but maybe things are turning the corner after a rough start.
They're definitely turning the corner, like you said earlier. This is a young team. I believe 31 of the 42 field players are either sophomores or freshmen or a transfer. So it's a young team that Reed Ayers knew. He coached a lot of these guys. I heard you talking about, I think there's 6 guys on this field that played for Reed at some point on the club team at NEO.
Ruppel from the top of the box. Got free for a moment, sent it away, and it was blocked inside. Loose for a moment. Maybe Davalos. It's cleared away.
So, yeah, it's definitely a turning point for these guys. Like you said, even with Danny, it's been a learning curve for some of these guys. And, you know, a lot of these guys played on teams that they were the star. Now they're coming in here and having to beat out people and finding out how tough the OAC really can be.
And how cool is it, too, that when you just look up and down these rosters, I mean, you've got such a local flavor in the greater Cleveland and greater Akron, Canton areas. Not only did these guys maybe play glove ball together or against each other, most of them were playing in high school conferences in season that were with each other or against each other. So, you know, you get to this level, and obviously there is some familiarity, you know, from playing at the college level. But, man, it's like you're playing against guys you played against your whole life.
Definitely. When we went down at halftime, you could see some of the club coaches and some of the guys I actually even played with that are still younger and probably still in high school that are still on those club teams are sitting in here.
Thinking about which place they want to go play their college ball.
Yeah, definitely. It's exciting because a Wednesday night here in Berea, you're not going to have usually a typically big crowd if you're bringing in an Ohio Northern or a Heidelberg. But like you said, the local flair of all these kids, we got a decent crowd here tonight.
Director of Sports Information Jeff Miller with us on the broadcast tonight as a foul occurs on the field. Yellow Jackets lead the game 3-1 thanks to 2 goals from Danny Ruppel and a third goal of the season from Kurt Rainey. The only goal tonight coming from Mount Union, just their 8th goal of the season in only their 12th game of the year, put in by Jake Clark, a sophomore from West Geauga High School. On the football side of things, I know it's been a disappointing start in the OAC. The season couldn't have gotten off to a much better start with a 42-0 drubbing of Defiance. That one headed away, a little bit of a collision, but not a huge chance to put it in the net. But, you know, the Jackets went on the road as we had a brief injury. Oh, you know what? I beg your pardon. It was tipped out of bounds by the keeper, so it's a corner kick. But the Jackets went on the road in the Cuyahoga Gold Bowl rivalry and held John Carroll basically to 3 points through 3 quarters. And sort of from the middle of that fourth quarter on, the season kind of turned on its head a little bit.
Definitely, I would say, though, we've ran into some injuries. We've lost, which probably is our best defensive end. Andy Schultz is out for the season. He didn't play against Marietta. I think he got hurt against Mount Union. So that's going to take its toll on you when we're a young team there, too. There's a lot of holes on that defense that guys had to step in. And then the offensive side, you're looking at a lot of guys that are stepping in that didn't play. You lose a running back like Isaac Reed, and yes, Austin Smith played a lot behind him, but you're still asking him to take the load that Isaac carried. New quarterback, you lost, the multi-talented, faceted player in Tyler Meglin, whose brother is at John Carroll, and picked up his first career start win, I believe it was.
Yeah, he actually broke the school passing record with 6 passing touchdowns at Wilmington last week. Well, certainly good for the Meglin family.
Well, and definitely there's something that we can look forward to as well. Then go down to Wilmington and get off a little 3-game skid.
I was just going to say, if there's anything to spin positively here, it's the fact that Wilmington's going to welcome the Jackets this weekend, and in the nicest way possible. They're not a particularly good team again this year. As Mount Union tries to find a couple of openings on the near side of the box, it just can't slip anything through with 15 and a half minutes left to go in the game.
Hopefully we can ruin their homecoming this weekend down at Wilmington. But, stranger things happen in this conference. I've seen it over the years as an undergrad and as in my tenure now as in sports information. Anybody can beat anybody in this league, with the exception of Mount Union, it seems like. But you never know who can come out of that bottom half of that group and knock you off. Yeah,
no, there's no doubt about that. I think it's been interesting to follow the quarterback play a little bit because Robbie Plagans played very well early on. He had a decent game against John Carroll, and he started the game really well against Mount Union. He did not come out for the second half. He was on the sideline, and I don't know if at that point he was banged up or if it was just a coach's decision to move forward and try things with Jake Hudson. Hudson played pretty well in a game last week where the team threw up more than 400 yards of total offense. Usually you score 56 points, you feel pretty good about your chances, but unfortunately last weekend that didn't work out.
Yeah, you never I was over at the volleyball match, and within an hour you come back and it's 56-56. You don't know what the heck's going on. So
hard foul on the far side of the field. It does not look like a booking is warranted, but Davalos went down. I beg your pardon, that was not Davalos, but instead JT Taubenik that went down and is slow to get up. Clock stops with 14:09 left in our game, and at the moment, 3-1, the Yellow Jackets have the lead.
it's a season high, too, for Danny Ruppel for goals in a game. So
it is, and he is hoping to come up with the first hat trick of his young career.
I don't know if he's still on the field.
It was a moment ago. Maybe he just got subbed out. We'll take a look across the way.
Unless he's drinking water on the bench right now, but yeah, because Nicholas Bernard's on the field now, so he might be done for the night.
Well, he's certainly done his fair share. No doubt about that.
As I was telling his proud father the other day, he was asking me about this is actually the second game I've seen Danny play. I've never seen a freshman know what he wants to do with the ball before he even gets it.
There's no doubt that he kind of has a full head of steam even when he doesn't have the ball. He's got a plan, and it's fun to watch a guy, no matter where they are in terms of education, whether you're freshman, junior, senior, sophomore, doesn't matter. Danny Ruppel's has put together a nice little package. Before we let you go, Jeff, I know we want to bring Eric back on as Mount Union put something together. Just want to take a public opportunity to wish you a very happy birthday tomorrow.
Thank you, Brendan.
I won't say how old you are.
Good, that's fine. Don't let anybody know how old I am. So, but thanks for having me on, and thank you for doing this game again for us. And,
absolutely.
Enjoy the rest of the game, guys.
Best of luck to the Yellow Jackets volleyball team, most especially as they make a run at a serious run at a conference title. Jeff Miller, Director of Sports Information at Baldwin Wallace.
What a guy, you know.
None better. 13 minutes left in the game. It's a 3-1 lead for the Jackets. Trying to slice their way up the field. Nicholas Bernard in the corner. The ball poked free for a moment. Bernard plays at the top of the box on the give and go, gets it back. And Grove was just a little off touch, trying to send it in. Jackets lead the game by 2, so they have a little bit of breathing room as Mount Union has to come up with something special here late, or they're going to be in trouble. Again, our coverage of Yellow Jackets soccer tonight brought to you by the Oriole Cafe, a great place for sports. Located at 294 North Rocky River Drive, just a couple minutes from campus. It's a great place to go grab some wings and watch your favorite game, whatever it might be. A shot on goal, skipped in there, and a scooping save from Patrick Mihal. Maybe that game included last night's American League wildcard thriller between Toronto and Baltimore. Potentially tonight's game. San Francisco Giants are in the Big Apple.
What a pitching matchup for that game, huh?
There are not many more exciting pitchers in Major League Baseball than the two on the hill tonight on national TV. Meanwhile, Rainey tried to feed it in there. Bernard couldn't find it. We are under 12 minutes left in regulation. Baldwin Wallace trying to come up with its second home win of the season and its fourth win overall. Purple Raiders looking for just their third win of the campaign. Nice footwork by Welker. Frees it up for Lewis. Good strong defense. You can pretty much see Baldwin Wallace going almost 5 across in the back. You got a 3-1 lead at home. You go play defense no matter what you have to do.
You're absolutely right.
Grove up in the near side. I beg your pardon, that's actually Kurt Rainey. Finds the middle. Jonas to the corner. A little too much on it for Joey Rainey.
You can tell they're not really slowing down on the offensive end. They may pack it in, but they certainly can still get out and run and get into that attacking third as well.
Yellow Jackets bringing Carter Sutton back on the field. Well, he's going to spare Kurt Rainey, who might be done for the day as well. Former Menor Cardinal. Patrick Mihal's definitely gotten his work today. 10 Mount Union shots, 4 of them on goal.
For not being the everyday goalie, I mean, he's played pretty well.
Hoping to go to 2-1 personally on the season. Meanwhile, the Jackets have ripped 16 shots off, 11 of which have been on goal. Played in with a right foot, headed away. Carter Sutton tried to slice it through. The whistle blows at the 10-minute mark. Hope you're enjoying our coverage tonight of Yellow Jacket soccer. Baldwin Wallace in white and gold, playing just their 3rd home game of the year. Mount Union, the visiting team, in black tops, black shorts, purple trim. Total nightfall on a really comfortable night. 74 degrees at our opening kick, and it really hasn't cooled off too much. Most of the time in early October, it's reasonable to think you'd need a light jacket, but unless you're a freeze baby, not too bad out there tonight. It's only a slight breeze. Wind is kind of blowing from the far right corner toward the stands here on the home side. It's somewhat of a cross breeze. Bernard, far side, pokes it back, and it's sent up. Bernard streaking up that far sideline. Couldn't run it down before it was across the line out of bounds. Now it's been all Danny Ruppel and Kurt Rainey tonight. Ruppel with 2 goals, Rainey with the 3rd goal, and he assisted on Ruppel's 2nd goal off the free kick. Ruppel scored in the 37th minute as Adam Grove earns a well-deserved high five from his teammates. He'll head out. The replacement back there defensively, Jeremy Faust. Anyways, Ruppel scored in the 37th minute to make it 1-0 Jackets before Mount Union tied the game late in the first half. Jake Clark with his first goal this season. Kevin Blackley came up with the assist. Then just a few minutes into the second half, it was the 52nd minute of the game. Danny Ruppel put in his 2nd, and 10 minutes later, Kurt Rainey made it a 3-1 contest. We've got just 8 minutes left. Mount Union is in full out attack mode. You can't leave anything back there at this point. Controlled for a moment, spun around. Blackley sent it too far forward, and it was deflected toward the keeper. Mount Union's only put 4 shots on goal this half. 11 for the Yellow Jackets since the intermission.
I've been really impressed by the way Baldwin Wallace has played this second half. A little stat for you. Baldwin Wallace has given up 17 goals in the second half of their first 11 games, and that leads to a -8 mark for them. They've only scored 9 goals in the second half before coming into tonight, of course. So I've really enjoyed their play in the second half, putting pressure on Mount Union early and often.
Well, the second half certainly has been about their defense, no doubt about that. Purple Raiders, I think, have put up a good fight, but again, you can just kind of tell it's a team that is missing a true offensive cornerstone. Hopefully for second-year head coach Carter Poe, who is a talented young player, and mentioned earlier, he's not much older than the guys he's coaching. Hopefully Carter Poe will find one soon. Elias looking around. Pops it down the field. Not a bad look for Welker. But Tomanek is there, and he rolls it away. Carter Sutton up the sideline. He beat Chung. Then he beat his second defender toward the corner. Bumped hard off the ball a couple of times. Awfully physical play, but a goal kick coming. That's what you like to see if you're the Yellow Jackets, even though you've got a good cushion late.
Yeah,
there was no give up in Carter Sutton.
Yeah, you talked about the volleyball team really not giving a position to anyone. You really have to go out and earn it, and especially in these late minutes, that's where you earn your time.
Under 6 minutes to go in the game. Jackets looking for their first conference win of the season. Lewis sends it back. That one accidentally glanced off of Scott Welker's hands, but no call. Instead, Lewis feeds the box. Defended for a moment. It's loose. A tackle. And an offensive foul on the Purple Raiders. Jesse Tinney dragged down the defender. And Mount Union does not get the benefit of the doubt here on the road. As you might expect, Patrick Mihal taking his good old time with under 5 minutes to go now in the ball game. Bernard tried to run it down, but sent too far out there. Well, you've still pretty much got the whole conference slate ahead of these couple of teams. After Mount Union finishes this one, they'll head home for their next couple of games with Heidelberg and Marietta before having to go back on the road to Capital and Muskingum and a couple of road games in the conference. I guess the saving grace for the Purple Raiders is that they played Ohio Northern first. You've got one game left against Capital and then basically everybody else. But having to go 2 Northern and 2 Capital this year, not fun.
Not easy, yeah, definitely.
4 minutes left, a corner kick for the Purple Raiders. They hurriedly try to get set. I think that ball was probably supposed to spin a little bit and never did. Really strong closing effort defensively from Timmy Jonas. Jackets just swarm to the ball. And it's out of play with 3.5 minutes left. Brief timeout for a substitution with a whole bunch of new faces coming on. Geither back in, Grove back in, Rupel once again. And re-entering the game, Kurt Rainey. So 4 starters back on the field. Looks like Bernard leaves. He played well in Rupel's momentary absence, but Reed Ayers is basically saying, I'm not taking any precautions here late in the game. Just give those guys a chance to close out a win at home. Meanwhile, Tirabassi. On near sideline, and it's rolled away. Tinney throws it in. Chested down. Good defense there from Kyle Klemo, who's got the red headband on. 3 minutes and just a couple seconds left in the game. Good fight for the Purple Raiders. Didn't really come up with it on the near side. The Jackets throw it away. Grove hands it away. He'll just stay on the field defensively. Good strong throw up the sideline. David Elson threw it away down there. O'Malley in the middle of the field. Lofts it toward the opposite corner where Rupel can't run it down. And at this point for the Yellow Jackets, all about just controlling the clock.
Really been an impressive win for the Jackets. I mean, they've played hard all night and really kept Mount Union at bay on both ends.
After losing an overtime road game, it's great to see Baldwin Wallace come back home and respond here with, at the moment, what appears to be a 2-goal win. And on top of that, you mentioned they, at this point so far, have shut out Mount Union through the second half. Despite the fact the Purple Raiders over the last 10 minutes have finally really started aggressively attacking the goal. Obviously, when you're down 2, you would do that, but saw it early in the game and late.
Yep.
Just 90 seconds left in the game for the Purple Raiders, who try to throw one up the far sideline and see what they can do. Lewis broke free for a second. The ball just kind of skidded toward the middle of the field. Cleared away by Klemo for a moment. And it's free. Well, with the win, Baldwin Wallace is going to improve to 4-8 on the season. Mount Union will fall to 2-5-3. The Yellow Jackets prove they're tough to beat at home. We'll see what Baldwin Wallace can come up with. I know they're excited about that fourth win. It's going to pull them out of the standings as a good shot came from the top of the box. Diving effort, but it was just wide to the right. Anyways, BW's schedule upcoming. They will travel to Wilmington on Saturday, probably tail the football team. Football games in the afternoon, then the men's soccer game at Wilmington that night. Next home game for the Jackets is against John Carroll on Tuesday. That will be a really entertaining game. Usually a very physical contest between those two teams. They'll host Muskingum after the football game here at home on the 15th. Just the final 20 seconds of the night. Mount Union, at the moment, looks like they will be shut out in the second half. It's a 3-1 Baldwin Wallace victory tonight. Ball rolls away cleanly, and there is the final whistle. Final score tonight, Baldwin Wallace 3 and Mount Union 1. Eric, any final thoughts?
I thought this was a great building win for the Jackets. We talked about them really struggling in the first 6 games this season, going 0-6, but really they've put together a nice few games these past time. It's really something to build on, winning at home in the conference like that.
Jackets with 16 shots tonight, 11 of them on goal. Mount Union fired 11 shots, of which 4 went on net. Danny Rupel, our player of the game.